Hey guys, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I have a story to tell you about how my life didn't work out, but my sister Rina's life did. My name is Jess, by the way. I'm 15 years old, and my sister just turned 14. She just had a mishap at her birthday party. Would you like to know what happened? Then stay tuned and watch the video to the end. I've been living with my grandmother, Rosie, almost since I was born. She's not my real grandmother, but she raised me as her granddaughter, for which I am grateful. So one day I asked her where my family was, my mom and dad, and she told me that they had given up on me a long time ago, that they had another child, also a girl, and that they loved and cared about her. At first, it was taken for granted, but over the years, I asked myself more and more, why? Why am I any worse than that girl? In all my conscious life, I do not remember that I was congratulated on my birthday or Christmas. Only my grandmother did. When I turned 15, I blew out the candles on a little cake and made a wish to meet them one day. Rosie still has a picture of me and Dad and Mom, the three of us sitting on the couch in a small room. My parents are young, and I'm very young. I kept this photo forever. I wanted to know my parents from it if I ever met them, and my wish was granted. My grandmother told me that they lived in another town, but she didn't know anything else. So one day I asked for her permission, took my friend Ted with me, and we drove to that town in search of adventure. It took almost 24 hours to get there. We were exhausted, so we decided to rest at a hotel. After getting some sleep, I was hungry, so I went to buy us a snack on the street. As I was crossing the road, I was almost hit by a car. A girl got out shouting, "Look where you're going! The red light is on! For who?" And I was sleepy, so I walked backward and let her pass. All I could think about at that moment was how cool she looked and what a cool car she had. I went into the diner and ordered pancakes and asked the waiters if they knew the people in the picture. Everyone just shrugged, and I knew it was going to be a long search. How long do you think we will be here? I don't know. I wish it could be over soon, but I'm staying until I get what I want. Yeah, right. You didn't drive all the way out here for nothing. I'll leave tomorrow. I'll stay with you for a while. Then call me if you need me to come get you. That's really sweet. Thank you, dude. What would I do without you? You would have taken the bus? Right. On the way downtown, we stopped at all the places. I showed people pictures, but it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. After an hour, a cop came up to Ted's car and gave me a ticket for improper parking. I was already pretty freaked out, and when I saw it, I started arguing with the cop. I was quickly taken to the station along with Ted. Yeah, it couldn't have gotten any better, but it's a free night, my friend said and went to sleep on the hard cot. After a couple of hours, the police shift changed, and a woman was left to guard us. She was sociable and asked me why I was here and why I'd come. I told her the story, and she looked at the picture and was like, "Oh my God, that's Mr. and Mrs. Gardy." At that moment, a spark of hope ignited in me. What? Do you know them? Of course I do. My sister used to live near their house. They're a very nice and wealthy family. Are you sure they're your parents? Maybe the child in the picture is their daughter. It's handwritten at the bottom. I think it's my mom's handwriting. There's a handwritten signature at the bottom, too. That's right, I didn't notice. You'll be released tomorrow. You'll have to pay the fine, but I can help you. I can drive you to their house if you need. Thank you, ma'am. That would be very nice. In the morning, as promised, we were released. The policewoman pointed the way, and in a moment, I was standing in front of their house. It was a very nice and beautiful house. I realized I was worried, and I was very confused. Ted encouraged me to go, so why was I standing here? And I couldn't move. Eventually, I got to the door and tried to press the bell. At that moment, the door opened, and the same girl who almost hit me on the road came out. Do you need anything? Hi. Yeah, I'm here. We're looking for Mr. and Mrs. Gardy. Just a minute. Mom, Dad, there's someone here to see you. I couldn't get a word out. I felt so bad that I was all red. My sister came out of the house and got in the car and drove off somewhere. Then I heard footsteps approaching, and I didn't know what to say to them. Hello, can I help you? But then my father came out and was like, "Oh, hello! Finally you came. We've been waiting for you. Honey, remember I told you that I asked my friends to find us a girl and a guy to help me in the backyard? It's Rina's birthday, so I thought I'd make sure everything was ready." He rambled on quickly. Mom said, I'll get out the way, and left. And Dad called us into the backyard and showed us the work we were supposed to do. Clean the pool, clean the area, mow the lawn, that sort of thing. Ted and I, being used to physical labor, got it all done in 3 hours. Dad was pleased and paid well. Gradually, guests started coming to the house. I saw Rina greeting them. She looked gorgeous. She had on a fancy dress, makeup, hair done. She was just dressed up so nicely. Ted and I had to clean up after the party. So we were assigned a table further away, and we sat and watched the whole spectacle. Are you okay? I don't know. I don't know how to tell them why I'm here, and anyway, how will they react? I don't know what to do. You wanted this. We came here with a purpose, and now you're just scared? I know, but I can't help it. I am scared. Then my mom came over and asked me to serve drinks, and I threw my bag on the spot and went to work with Ted. I have no waitressing experience. Maybe that's why the first tray of orange juice flew right onto Rina's new dress. She started screaming, calling me crooked, stupid, and untalented. I apologized as much as I could, but she was really pissed. Rina made me scrub the floors, pick up the broken glasses, and her friends watched and laughed at me. "Stupid waitress," said a voice from the crowd. And then I burst out. "What did you say? Hey, take it easy. These are my guests, and you work here. So if you're rude again, you're out of money. Got it? I don't want your stinking money, understand? What did you say? Get out! You're ruining my birthday. Oh yeah? I'm ruining your party? My whole life is ruined. While you've been getting high for 14 years, I've been saving everything to survive. I live in an old house, I have to work, I wear my neighbor's shirts. It's not fair. Because we have the same parents, but you got everything by yourself. What are you talking about? Who are you?" My mom came over, her face pale, and she was holding a picture of me that must have fallen out of my bag. "Jess, where did you get it?" she asked. Immediately, my father came over and froze too. A silence fell around us. Ted distracted the crowd by inviting them to swim in the pool, and in the meantime, Dad led me, Mom, and Rina into the house. We sat down in the living room and they repeated the question. Tears came to my eyes. "It's me, Jess, your daughter. I came to ask you why you rejected me. What was wrong with me?" I cried. Seconds later, my mother rushed over to me, fell on her knees, and began to hug and kiss me. She just kept repeating my name. "Jess, my girl, you've been found." Daddy came up to me too and cried. Rina stood bewildered, and so did I. When we calmed down, my parents told me that they hadn't given up on me. It turned out that I had been kidnapped from them years ago. They had been looking for me for years. Even though Rina showed up later, they didn't tell her anything about it. "Where have you been living all this time?" "With Grandma Rosie." "What? I've checked her house 100 times. She was our neighbor." "I'm gonna get her. I'm going to destroy her." "Honey, she's schizophrenic, but I'm glad she raised you alive and well. We'll definitely talk to her." "But she said you disowned me." And Daddy took me to his office, pulled out some thick papers with my pictures, as well as copies of my search papers. He had hired detectives upon detectives hundreds of times in hopes of finding me, and I was just around the corner. They started apologizing for not trying hard enough, and my mind got all messed up. Anyway, it took me a while to digest everything. A couple of weeks later, we went back to Rosie's, and she pretended she didn't know me, that she was seeing me for the first time. Mom scratched her head, but Dad said she was too old and decided to leave her alone. "She'll answer, but not to us anymore. God will judge her," he said. I didn't know how to relate to her, but still thanked her for raising me and telling me a little about my real family. It's been a couple of months since then. I'm living with my family now. Rina and I have become friends. My parents are insanely happy, and I am finally free of feelings of jealousy and envy.
Hello everyone, my name is Carl. I am a full 15 years old. My father is the president of a very large company in the United States. Our family is billionaires, but I work as a waiter. Do you want to know why? Now I'll tell you everything, and while you listen, watch and do not forget to immediately subscribe to this channel. Let's start with the fact that when I was born, we were poor. Yes, it is hard to believe. Now it is customary to think that if you are poor, you will never achieve anything. But my father is the best example of what it is possible to earn yourself, and he did it. When he and my mother got married, they had nothing, no place to live, no car. And the day came when it was necessary to pay the bills, including paying for the apartment. There was nothing. My mother had a little me. She could not go to work. Then my father, desperate, went out on the street and just went to shops and cafes, offering the services of a cleaner, a salesman, yes, anyone. He did not disdain work, and his mother respected him for it. That day he came back late at night, but managed to earn money, and although Dad was terribly tired, he always found time to play with me. So they lived for several years, until one day, Dad came as a cleaner in a large company. He was mopping the floors after the directors' meeting. One of the men kicked Dad's mop and called him a laborer. My father was a proud man, but with a brain. He could have hit him hard, but he knew he had a family to feed, so he straightened up and said something to the man that the others didn't even comment on. Dad told that man that the project they were working on would fail just because its concept was built wrong. They were going to build houses for the poor and sell them. Dad himself lived in such conditions and knew perfectly well what amenities were really needed. The guy just laughed and said he wasn't going to listen to the janitor's opinion. The idea of the project is beautiful, Gillies, that it is led by a person who does not understand and is not educated, my father said. He turned on Dad. He was hurt in front of his supervisor, and that offended him the most. Then the most important director intervened. He reassured his subordinate, then turned to his father. He asked him a couple of questions, and Dad answered. He just said his opinion and gave a couple of free tips. The director asked why my father worked as a cleaner if he was good at business. Then Dad said that a real businessman does not disdain any dirty work. It's hard to believe, but my father was put on probation after the dialogue. That subordinate was angry. He was furious. The very next day, my father came to train. He immediately showed himself. The internship lasted 3 long months, but it was paid. This money was enough for a living. After a while, Dad was hired for a long and hard work. It was a holiday for our family. Over the years, my father rose higher and higher. I grew up, we already bought our own house, 2 cars, and my mother gave birth to another daughter, my sister. And then we just got rich, until my father started running the company himself, which he came to as a cleaner. Despite the money, connections, and position, Mariana and I, my little sister, were brought up simply, without being tied to money. If you need money, go to work, Dad would say. Of course, we didn't need anything. We ate, we went to great schools, we had everything. But if I needed my own money, my father sent me to work. So in the summer, I worked part-time with neighbors, and then with this money, my friends and I went camping or went to parties. It didn't bother me that I was working. However, many people around were outraged and considered my father's upbringing ruthless. He asked them to mind their own business. I didn't like working at first. At first, I just wanted to ask my mother for money. She gave it to me secretly, until my father noticed. He strictly forbade spoiling Mariana and me, and my little sister was offended with my father, and so was I. And once he came home earlier than usual. He sat me down at the table and said that there was an important conversation. Dad then explained that he could no longer support us and that everything we had would have to be sold. My mother almost had a heart attack. She was very worried, and only asked what to do now. My father replied that now it was time for me to help him. I also had to earn money. That day I could hardly sleep, because I could not believe that we were now poor. I suddenly remembered again that feeling when every cent counts, when it is necessary to save everything, wait for wages, and sometimes go to bed hungry. I felt sick. I saw my mother's condition, and felt sorry for her. And now we had Mariana, who had never understood what it meant to sleep on the floor in cheap apartments. I pulled myself together and made a plan of action. I understood that since I was a man, I had to take care of my family. My father did everything he could. I came to school, sat out classes, and then quickly ran to a cafe near the house and got a part-time job there. The receptionist was surprised. He didn't understand why I was working. I didn't want to explain for a long time. I just said that we needed money. He accepted me with no work experience and started the same day. It was hard. That night I came home exhausted, tired, and hungry. I ate quickly, did my homework, and went to bed. The next day, I was back at work after school. So 2 months have passed. I gave my entire salary to my parents and kept a small part for myself. My father and mother were proud of me, and I knew I was doing the right thing. Christmas was coming. I studied well, and so I finished my studies before the winter break with good results. Christmas morning began with unexpected surprises. Mom and Dad came into my room and handed me a gift box. There were car keys. I did not immediately understand what this means, and Dad said, "You deserve a gift. Now I see that you are my son and a worthy man." I didn't know what was going on. Then my parents took me outside, where a car was waiting for me. In all the excitement, I almost choked. I bombarded my parents with questions about where the money came from, and when we went home, Dad admitted that he had invented the bankruptcy situation. I wondered why, and then my father said his favorite phrase: "A real businessman does not disdain dirty work." At that moment, I was filled with a sense of joy and pride in myself at the same time. I didn't let the family down. It was important. I accepted the gift, and my father said that I could quit my job for the duration of my studies. But I was so used to making money that I said I'd work for a while. Another year has passed since then. I still work in that cafe as a waiter, and I like my job. People around me no longer laugh at me. They show respect. Now I go to work by car, and I divide my salary for the needs of my home and family. I think I'm doing everything right. What do you think? Write your opinion in the comments, and do not forget to put likes.